Do you like yourself? Now, that may sound like a fairly loaded, dramatic question. However, the reality is there are so many people walking around on a day to day basis filled with self loathing, self hatred, and a complete and utter lack of self worth and self acceptance. And generally, that low self worth is a result of messages we received in our childhood, where we were given conditions of worth. In other words, where we weren't accepted fully as who we were, as our authentic selves, and we somehow perceived the message that we had to live up to certain conditions in order to be accepted. We had to conform to certain expectations in order to be loved. And we internalize all of this stuff, and we also internalize any criticism that we receive, and it becomes our internal monologue. It becomes the voice that goes on in our head all day that oftentimes we're not even aware of, that tells us that we're useless, or we're stupid, or we're fat, or we're ugly. And I mean, the way it talks to us is so punitive, it is so hard, and yet we let it run, we let it have its way, and we would never consider talking to anybody else in that way. We'd never allow anybody else to talk to anybody else the way that we talk to ourselves. That being said, challenging the voice is really, really difficult. I mean, literally, it's something that you have been listening to for a lifetime. So when you initially try to become aware of it, when you initially try to challenge that internal voice, it's going to feel like it's just too difficult, because ultimately it has become your truth. So it's about being very compassionate and kind to yourself in this journey of self-acceptance. Because a lot of people, I think, set out and they're like, I need to love myself and this needs to happen tomorrow. You know, we live in this world of instant gratification where all of the fixes need to take place all at once. And that's just now how this journey goes. So it's about realizing that it does take time, and it takes diligence, and it takes commitment, and it's going to feel painful because, as I said, there's going to be a conflict there because this is what you have believed for a lifetime. But it's about doing it bit by bit. I mean, as I said, the whole concept of self-love, if you've been down for so long, can feel like such a foreign concept that it's just too much too soon. Whereas if you can work on accepting bit by bit, you know, finding little aspects of yourself that you enjoy, that you deem acceptable on a day-to-day basis, and reminding yourself of them, then it's about visiting your weaknesses, because ultimately self-acceptance isn't about denial of your weaknesses or denial of the aspects of yourself that you don't particularly like, but it's just not punishing yourself for them. It's finding a place for them where you can be kind to them, where you can forgive yourself for your imperfections. I mean, we have these standards for ourselves that are absolutely bizarre and insane. And I mean, literally, we don't hold them for other people. So why do we feel a need to hold them for ourselves? So it's about lowering your standards. And that doesn't mean that you're allowing yourself to get away with anything. I mean, sometimes people fear that if they accept themselves, they're never going to improve, they're never going to change. And I mean, in order to change, you have to deem yourself worthy of change, and that's where the acceptance part comes into it. So it's about being like, I'm okay with who I am, but I can still work towards the person who I want to be, whether that be physical changes, whether that be emotional changes, whether that be whatever it is that you want to go for. The more accepting you are of where you are now, the more likely you are to get there. And that can really, really take a while to resonate with people because, as I said, oftentimes we can be so filled with self-loathing that we can't even see a point of accepting ourselves. But it's about working on it on a day-to-day basis. It's about enjoying your accomplishments. I mean, we have a negativity bias, and it tends to focus on all the things that go wrong, on all the things that we don't like. And we have to consciously intervene in order to start noticing the things that go right and noticing the things that we do like about ourselves. And the more regularly we do that, the more our brain will alter to start recognizing the good aspects of life, the more we pay attention to the things that we need to pay attention to in order to feel better about ourselves, the better off we're going to be. I mean, it's true what they say, that neurons that fire together wire together, or vice versa. I always get that one mixed up. But basically, the more you work that mind muscle, the stronger it's going to be. If you find yourself filled with a lack of self-acceptance, and if you're struggling because of it, get in touch with me. I can help you. You'll get me on the website. It's fundamentals.ie. You can also catch me on my Facebook or Instagram. Both of those pages are called Fundamentals. I release a regular podcast with Neil O'Brien called Touchy and Feely. It's available on iTunes and Spotify. Go check it out. Like, share, subscribe. And likewise, my YouTube channel, which is Fiona Feely also. Go check it out. I post loads of content on how to feel more purposeful, how to find a fulfilling life, how to deal with mental health issues like anxiety, postnatal depression, or just straightforward depression. So go check it out. Again, like, share, subscribe. If there is something you would like me specifically to cover, feel free to get in touch. I'd be more than happy to do so.